Hang on, hang on. And back. Okay. All right. And you can't sit on it. Okay, we are live. We are recording.
Barbara, do you have to put it to YouTube?
Let me just make sure.
Yeah, I don't see the YouTube link up.
Okay, hang on, let's do. Hang on, I've got my notes all over the place.
So
This meeting is being recorded.
Hey, Nance.
Okay. Zoom webinar, it's recording. I logged in. Hopefully everything is going the way it should be.
Barbara,
Yes,
Nancy can see all of us. Do you have to just let her in?
I'm going to let her in. Mhm.
Yep.
And she should be.
There she is.
Here she is. Dan, well, hold on, let me get Dan in there.
Takes a freaking village.
You made it.
We've got Dan, we've got everybody in, right?
Yep.
Oh my God.
Well, somewhat.
Wouldn't let me in. He's trying to tell me something? You don't want me making any more snide remarks about the,
Okay.
no, those are always welcome.
huh?
Those are always welcome.
Are we ready?
Oh, I like,
Yeah.
Dan, I like your little
ready.
email to me. I maybe I should run for.
All right, Nance, we gotta go quick because we got a lot to cover, okay?
Let's
Okay.
go.
All right, go ahead, Barbara.
Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and the governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Southborough Board of Health will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the Town of Southborough's website at www.southboroughtown.com. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to watch or participate in the meeting may do so in the following manner by finding the meeting at the remote meeting link. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on Southborough's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. And we are going.
Thank you, Barbara. Okay. We have brought the meeting to order. And Paul, do you want to give us an overview?
Okay, well, I think, did everybody get a copy of the agenda?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. I did not print it off. I was trying to do that just prior to getting on the Zoom, and I figured I better get on the Zoom.
Okay,
So,
no worries,
I don't have
Paul.
it in front of me, but I think everybody knows that this is going to be a rapid meeting, and as far as we got a lot of things to do, like Mary Lou said, we got several votes to be taken. There's just casually, there's a couple of resignations. There's maybe an appointment of two for new positions. Other than that, nothing else is new. I think we're also going to hopefully have some time to go over the annual report. We've added some things to it, we being myself and Barbara and Mary Lou, but we want to probably add more or delete some. There are things I want to interject from time to time if I get the opportunity. And I think Emily, this likewise, if we get an opportunity, we'd like to talk, if we can, about the CARES Act, which has been extended for one more year, which is something that I don't know if we're going to get any time to talk about, but I think that's very encouraging. It can only be used for COVID-19 related or SARS-CoV-2 disease, so forth and so forth in the pandemic. But That's it.
Great.
Great.
Thank you, Paul. So as Paul said, it's kind of going to be a whirlwind meeting. Dr. Heather Alker is going to join us at 10:30. So hopefully we can get through a lot of our votes before then. I would hope that we could just do our few updates to fill everybody in on sort of what's transpired since our last meeting. There has been a new review of our previous legal opinion that the Board of Health could enter into employment contracts. I'm happy to say that that's all resolved and that it's very clear that the Board of Health has complete autonomy to enter into contracts, whether it be employment contracts or vendor contracts or whatever we need to feel that we need to do to conduct the public health business of Southborough. So with that being said, our plan to move forward and hire a full-time health director, a full-time public health nurse, and a full-time admin is a process. And that process is moving, and it's moving in the right direction. And the first step is to move to appoint Dr. Heather Alker in a 6-month contract that's no benefits. It's $85 an hour. She can work up to 20 hours a week. And that is pending advisory approval of transfer of funds. Advisory is not meeting until January 6th. I've had many conversations, and Kathy Cook, the chairman of the advisory, has given me confidence that she feels that there will be an affirmative vote for the $34,900 that we would need in order to bring on Heather to that role for the 6 months. You guys got a copy of the job description and the draft contract language. Does anybody have any thoughts or comments on that?
No.
It looks great.
Okay. I talked with her for about an hour and a half yesterday, and I think she's going to be great. So I would like to make a motion to take a vote to appoint Dr. Heather Alker as our interim public health director, pending funds advisory vote to move the funds and pending Labor Council review of the contract language.
I second the motion as stated by Mary Lou Woodford.
Thanks. So
You want to state in your motion an effective start date and end
Sure.
date?
Sure. So I'd like to take a vote to appoint Dr. Heather Alker to interim public health director position starting January 11th, ending on June 30th of 2021. She would work up to 19 and a half hours per week and be paid $85 an hour. And that appointment is pending based on advisories, affirmative vote to move funds to support that position, and Labor Council's review of the contract language. And I vote yes.
This is Nancy Sacco. I vote yes to the job description and et cetera as outlined by Mary Lou Woodford.
And this is Dan O'Rourke, and I vote yes, as described by Mary Lou Woodford.
Okay, great. We also, in light of all of the changes that are happening, Emily and Paul have submitted their resignation, and I don't know if either of you want to speak or want to say anything related to that. Emily submitted her resignation effective February 10th. Paul submitted his resignation effective January 8th.
I just want to.
I can't hear you.
Can't hear you, Emily.
Sorry.
There we go.
I was on mute. I just wanted to say that I'm excited for the outlook for the department. you know, I think that this is really promising for the town of Southborough. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emily, for everything you've
I
done.
know.
You've gone over and above, and we could not have asked for more of you and realize that we pushed you to the limits. And hopefully you can take some time and recover and take care of yourself and your family.
Thank you.
I agree. There really aren't words. There really aren't. There aren't words. It was, you really stepped up to the plate, went above and beyond, and this is just such a crazy situation. I thank you for all you've done.
Thank you. And you're welcome.
And Paul?
Yes, I thoroughly enjoyed working with Emily. We thought in the beginning we had great promise of things that she and I thought would like to do, and she was very interested in a lot of things that I look forward to. Unfortunately, all that was clipped right at the beginning with COVID, and all of those ideas we had about wellness and proper nutrition and putting out a lot of information for disease control, prevention, all got pushed to the back burner, not knowing when, if they would ever be taken up. We never, ever thought that we would have to impose upon Emily to commit the hours that she did,
Oh my God.
did yeoman's work. And I could realize that after a while, this was just getting to be too much. And sorry to see her go, but who knows? Maybe someday in the future, when some of us are in different positions or whatever, she may come back. Who knows?
And Paul, I just want to say Southborough has been so blessed to have you for all these, what did you say, 28 years? Absolutely amazing. Stellar, you know, you're just you have such respect in the community and with anyone and everyone that I talk to. And it's been a pleasure working with you. And I'm really excited that you can stay on and start to share some of that valuable knowledge you have with Heather as she, you know, really starts a new path in local public health. And you will be an invaluable source. And Paul's agreed to stay on at, you know, six hours a week, and Heather and Paul can work that out, what works best. And I'm hoping, Paul, you can focus your time and maybe even writing up some, because we don't have, like, there's no user manual when you come into you know, this role. And so there's so much information that you have, and even Dennis has, and maybe you can start to write up some cheat sheets and checklists for her as she moves into that role. So I think you're going to be fabulous at doing that.
Yeah, Paul, you know, you're the reason I'm still here after all these years. I enjoy you so much, and you're such a wealth of knowledge, and I'm just happy you'll be getting back to doing what you enjoy and not all the pandemic stuff that's been thrust down your throat the last year. So this is so not goodbye.
Yes, and we will have a party in probably the summer when things are safe, but we will have a party to celebrate, because we can't celebrate right now. But
right, yeah,
Emily and Paul and we'll all be there.
Leslie, everybody.
Leslie, yep, for sure.
Hey, and Paul, I just want to echo their sentiments as well. It's been a pleasure working with you, you know, these 5.5, almost 6 years. I've learned a lot from you about what takes place in Southborough and the Board of Health and the Health Department and environmental impacts. And it's just been a lot of fun. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you all for your kind words. They're very much appreciated. And I know they're sincere. And as I've said thanks to some of the officials in town, and I won't belabor this, but I really have enjoyed working for the town of Southborough, but especially for the board members. I've worked in a lot of other towns all around Worcester County and the state of Connecticut, and I've never had a better group of elected or being appointed officials that I have here on the Board of Health in Southborough. It's been great. So thank you. And I'll
Thank you.
continue with whatever role you feel I can contribute to the town in continuity and with some of my background.
That's great. Thank you,
Limited
Paul.
hours. Thank you.
And then last meeting, we talked about having maybe a separate COVID line to answer
Right.
questions related to COVID. And we've all sort of brainstormed a little bit, and Barbara has agreed to thinking it might make the most sense rather than confusing people at this point. They call the local health department number now. And a lot of it's like nights and weekends that we're not sure what's going on. And Barbara has offered to check the messages during the weekend and she'll triage those appropriately. And then if she's working on a, kind of a checklist, if a call comes in for this, triage to this person, triage to that person, so that if we can get some volunteer help to check the messages, then they'll have some guidance of where to direct the calls. So she's working on that now. But I wanted to make a motion to take a vote to approve some overtime hours, which is probably going to be minimal, but for Barbara to do that.
I second the motion for overtime hours for Barbara.
Great. And so I'd like to take a vote to approve overtime hours for Barbara for answering for picking up the messages on the weekends. And yeah.
And you
I
vote
vote
yes.
This is Nancy Sacco. I vote yes to approve overtime hours for Barbara to answer calls on the weekend.
And this is Dan O'Rourke. I vote yes to approve additional hours for Barbara Spiri to cover the Board of Health phone on weekends and holidays.
Thank you.
Do you need to vote to accept the resignation letters?
Oh.
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion to accept Emily Amico's resignation letter effective February 10th.
I second the motion to accept Emily Amico's resignation letter for February 10th.
So I'd like to take a vote. This is Mary Lou Woodford. I vote yes to accept Emily Amico's resignation letter effective February 10th.
This is Nancy Sacco. I vote yes to accept the resignation letter of Emily Amico starting February 10th.
And this is Dan O'Rourke. I vote yes to accept the resignation letter of Emily Amico starting 10 February.
And I'd like to make a motion to accept the resignation letter of Paul Pisinski.
I second the motion.
So this is Mary Lou Woodford. I'm voting yes to accept the resignation letter of Paul Pisinski effective January 8th.
This is Nancy Sacco. I vote yes to accepting the resignation letter of Paul Pisinski effective January 8th.
And this is Dan O'Rourke. I vote yes to accept the letter of resignation from Paul Pisinski effective 8 January.
Okay, great. We also need to, I'm going to make a motion to appoint Paul a contract for 6 hours a week starting January 11th through June 30th, pending approval of Labor Council to review the language.
I second
This
the
is-
motion.
oh,
So this is Mary Lou Woodford. I vote yes to approve a contract for Paul Pisinski for 6 hours a week at $47 an hour for January 11th through June 30th.
This is Nancy Sacco. I vote yes to approving the contract for Paul Pisinski effective January 11th through June 30th, 2021.
And this is Dan O'Rourke. I vote yes to accept the contract for Paul Pisinski as stated by Mary Lou.
Okay. We're just going down the vote list.
Should go.
Did everyone get a chance to look at the 2022 budget?
Yes.
Yes.
Any thoughts, comments, edits?
No, I thought it looked great.
Okay, it's, the budget has the dollars in there to support the full-time public health director, full-time public health nurse, and a full-time administrative assistant. It also has some, it has the dollars to continue to support our per diem nurses and to, everything else in the budget is bare bones, as we know, as we've had all along. So really the major increase, although it's a big increase in our budget, the major increase is really for the salaries to support those positions. And while I've been working on all of this, trying to figure out how we can go there, I wanted everybody else to know that every other department head in this town who have contracted employment agreements make over $100,000. So to be able to support a public health director at over $100,000, I don't think is unreasonable at all. And it's in line with other health departments. So putting in the budget 110,000, I think is right in line with really what the demand is and what we should support.
I agree.
Yep.
Okay. So we need to make a motion to accept the 2022 budget as written.
I second the motion to accept the 2021 budget, no, 2022 budget as written.
So this is Mary Lou Woodford, and I vote yes to accept the 2022 budget, and we will be having a meeting with advisory soon to review that.
This is Nancy Sacco. I vote yes to accept the 2022 budget.
This is Dan O'Rourke. I vote yes to accept the 2022 budget.
Great. So the one last vote that we have before we can bring in Dr. Heather was the annual report. And I think we've made a lot of progress. I'd like to make a motion that we're going to submit the annual report, but I think it still needs a little tweaking. If Dan and Nancy, you can get a chance to look at it and we can submit it. Barbara, does it have to be submitted by today?
I did contact Lori Esposito and I said I'd get it to her on Monday. I don't know when they're getting ready to print.
Okay, all right. So do you guys think you might have time to review and add or edit before Monday?
I had one edit. Do we want to talk about them now?
Well, if
Sure.
there's anything specific or you want to send to me, I'm happy to work on the language and tweaking it.
Okay, it was just kind of a grammatical thing, that's all.
Yeah, I think there's,
All the parentheses. that really-
yeah, there's some grammatical things. I felt like there needed to be more about the flu clinics that we do, about some of the work we do with the senior center, about the COVID work we've been doing. And emergency preparedness, Emily brought that up, and that's part of our public health responsibility. So I just want to add those things in. Are there any sort of bucket topics that Nancy or Dan, you feel like we need to add in on top of that?
I think the ones you mentioned were great. And then I like how it ended, with the requirements, the basic requirements of what we do, but I felt like it needed a little bit of a closing paragraph or conclusion of some kind. It kind of ended a little abruptly was all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Other than that, it seems pretty comprehensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to submit the annual report on Monday to Barbara with our edits.
I second the motion to submit the annual report on Monday with revisions.
And this is Mary Lou Woodford. I'm voting yes to submit the annual report on Monday with revisions as stated.
And this is Nancy Sacco. I vote yes to submit the annual report with revisions on Monday, January 3rd.
I don't think
know
so.
what day
I
it
don't
is.
know.
This is Dan O'Rourke. I vote
Monday.
yes this is Dan O'Rourke. I vote yes to submit the town report, annual town report,
Form.
on Monday with revisions.
Okay, great.
We have a guest here.
Yeah, that's great. It's a little after. I know, Dan, you wanted to bring up one other thing, but can we bring Heather
yeah.
in?
She's here. Just asked her to unmute. There she is.
Hi, Heather. This is Mary Lou. I'd like to introduce you to everybody.
All right.
Up on the, I don't know how you have it arranged on your screen. Maybe you guys can wave. There's Barbara.
Hi, honey.
Jerry.
Nice to meet you.
Barbara is our administrative jack of all trades. And Dennis Costello is our sanitary and environmental inspector. And Emily Amico is our public health nurse. Paul Pisinski is our public health director that has been with the department for 28 years. And he just submitted his resignation letter, but he's going to work with you and he's going to talk to you about that transition. And Nancy Sacco. Nancy is a nurse and she is on the board and has been chairperson for many years and happy not to be right now. And Dan O'Rourke is our other board member. So welcome, Heather.
Okay. Thank
Welcome.
you. Very nice to be here.
Do you want
And yeah, no, I got a great view of everyone, and you're right in the middle of my tiles, Mary Lou.
Oh, great. So do you
And
want to
Barbara
share
doesn't
anything?
have her name, but everyone else has their name.
Oh, okay.
She has the town of Southborough.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Oh, dear.
That's okay. I got it.
Oh, my goodness. I'm sorry.
No, I got it.
Heather, do you want to tell everybody a little bit about you, a little bit about why you're interested in this? And everybody knows that Louis Faison, who was our
Yes.
champion for many years, is who recommended you and knows you well. So everybody's aware of that. But maybe you could give everybody a little background
Okay.
on who
Yeah,
you are.
no,
And
I serve on committees with Lou at Mass Medical Society. So I've been working with him probably for between 5 and 10 years over Mass Medical Society. I practiced OBGYN a long time ago in Cambridge, at Auburn Hospital, Cambridge Health Alliance. It's now called, back then it was Cambridge City in Inman Square. And then about 10 years ago, I transitioned into public health and I did a preventive medicine fellowship at UMass in Worcester. And that comprised of doing the MPH. And at that time, I sort of fell in love with sort of the population health aspect of things. And so I stayed on there as faculty. So I do academic pieces in teaching in the MPH program. We have fellows that we train for at a time to your program, and I'm faculty there. And I teach UMass medical students, and I do work in the community on infant mortality through the Worcester DPH. And then through the preventive medicine training, we do also a little piece in occupational health. And through that venue, I met up with someone who worked in employee wellness. And so I serve on committees for UMass for that. But I met someone who headed a company, Advanced Medical, which is an employee wellness company for complex medical cases that's an employee benefit. So I got hooked up with them 8 years ago. They've now been bought by Teladoc Health, and I do their OBGYN patients virtually. I've been doing telehealth for eight years in January.
Wow.
Yeah, so I guess ahead of the curve. I didn't know that. Now everyone does telehealth, but
So that's all you've done?
So anyway, so I this coming into a city is certainly an interest to me. I guess through the Mass Medical, you definitely do some sort of policy things, and I'm a member in my town in Newton, and of just knowing some of the in general the state legislators. But, so this is a little different, but very excited to get going.
Right.
We are very excited to have you, and before you came on, we were able to appoint you pending transfer of funds from the advisory and pending legal counsel, labor counsel reviewing your contract language with a start date of January 11th. So if all goes well and advisory meets on the 6th to approve the funds transfer, we'll get in touch with you right away, and hopefully you'll be able to hit the ground running on January 11th.
Great.
So we are very excited. Does anybody have any questions for Heather?
No, welcome aboard. We're
Thank
thrilled you're agreeing to join our town at this difficult time.
Right. Yes. Yes. I mean, some of our fellows have been working with the Peabody Department of Public Health, getting their sort of social media and website and things going. Yeah.
So you may be able to bring some fellows or
Yes.
grad
Yes. That may have
students or
expertise that I
some
don't.
to do
Yes.
that labor work that we need to
Yeah.
have done.
Yes.
Maybe some graphs and maybe some presentations, and all that would be
Right.
wonderful.
Well, good that you teamed up with Dr. Louis Face, and I know he's been involved with the Mass Medical Society. And
Yes.
that's a great connection, and we totally enjoyed and respected his Board of Health efforts here in Southborough. He was also, like Mary Lou, a chairperson for quite a few years, and we were just sorry to see him move out of town. But that's what
Yes.
happened. But,
Yeah, I know his wife as well, because she's done UMass
Yeah.
department
Lynn. Yeah,
chair and
Lynn Eckert.
still teaches there. Yeah, in the same program I teach. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and Dr. Faison chaired the Committee on Public Health at Mass Medical Society for a while, and Catherine Brown's been on that committee, who's now our state epidemiologist, and yeah.
Good.
That's great. Always great connections
Yeah.
to have. And so, thank you.
Now, do we have to have a vote for her to sign off on payroll and payables or no?
That is, thank you, Barbara. Yeah, Carla asked if we can take a vote to appoint Heather to be able to sign off on payrolls and invoices effective January 11th on her start date. So I make a motion to take a vote to do that.
Before we do that, we don't have to wait until it's approved?
Well, this is pending her appointment on January 11th, unless the other option we could do, because Heather's not up to speed. Does someone on the board want to do that? I mean, Nancy or Dan, are you willing to do that until Heather gets settled, and then we can always transfer that ownership after she gets?
Or either I could do it, or could we have Paul continue
No.
to? No, okay, because you're resigned, you're just
Right.
contracted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do it. I have no
That's fine.
issue doing that.
And then we'll have a.
I'm not going anywhere. Not traveling the world, so I can do that.
The
I'll
board-
try to make it on, just on Mondays, every other Monday. And
Well-
that would be payroll and payables. Is that okay for you?
The ICU schedule changes all the time. That's the only thing. I
And-
often work.
Dan as a backup?
Yeah, that's fine.
volunteering
I'm
you.
right down the street, but I think that, by the end of January, we'll have another meeting, or
Right.
the beginning of February, and we can do
Right.
it then.
Okay.
Yeah, it's probably just for a couple of payroll cycles. So,
Right. Maybe
so
month or so.
I'll take a vote that the board, Nancy and Dan, will take responsibility for signing off on payroll and invoices until further voted.
I vote to allow myself and Dan to sign payroll and the invoices, until
Till our
Heather
next.
is confirmed.
Wait, did you make a motion, or are you just voting?
I already made the motion.
And you
Okay.
second it, Nancy?
I went ahead and voted, so maybe I jumped the
We-
gun.
we need to-
So
we need to
I
second the mo-
second the motion to allow Dan or myself to sign payroll and invoices.
And this is Dan O'Rourke, and I vote yes to allow the board to sign payroll and invoices until Heather is on board and approved.
How about if we say just till our next board meeting, because
Okay.
yes,
This is Dan O'Rourke. I vote yes to allow the board to sign payroll and invoices until our next board meeting.
and this is Mary Lou Woodford, and I vote yes to allow the board to sign off on payroll and invoices till our next board meeting.
And this is Nancy Sacco. I vote yes to allow the board to sign payroll and invoices until our next meeting.
Okay.
Very good, Nancy.
Takes me a while.
Now, Heather, you see the formality of all the.
Yeah, no, I chair one of the committees at Mass Medical. You do the same thing, the motion, the second the motion, and yeah, no,
Okay.
I've seen that, yeah.
I think we actually powered through it all. No, we need one more thing. I wanted to give everybody an update on the COVID vaccine application. So Emily, do you want to update where we're at with that?
Yeah, sure. So since our last meeting, we met with, I'm not sure what we're calling it, but a working group of the town administrator, Mark Purple, Steve Achilles, the chief of fire, and along with Jason, what's his Jason's last name? He's part
Malinowski.
of the advisory. Malinowski, and then Paul, myself, Mary Lou, and Leslie Chamberlain, the former public health nurse who now works primarily in the senior center. We all got together, talked through the steps that we're going to need to collaborate on and make a plan to be able to apply for the vaccine and also to eventually administer it. So, and then all the follow-up work to that. So there have been some discussions with AFC in Marlborough with the management over there to potentially partner with them. But we are still planning to submit our application to be able to acquire the vaccine in the town. So that still needs to be signed by Dr. Robinson and also Mark Purple, who was appointed Selectman Healy has appointed Mark to be the signer for that, for the, I think it was called the CEO of the organization to sign off on it. So, so hopefully that will be happening next week when Mark gets back from break. And Nancy, are you able to talk with Kim about signing? It's an electronic signature.
Sure,
so-
that's fine. Yeah, I can talk to her.
That would
Okay,
be great. And
great.
then Emily, too, we did have a Zoom meeting. It was a little confusion back and forth, but the other day before last, with Bing from AFC, he's absolutely agreed to partner with us. And he
yay.
is putting together an MOU with Chief Achilles right now and Mark Purple. And so our plan is that they will put in their application. We'll put in our application in hopes that, whoever gets it first will move forward. So the vaccine clinic will take place in Southborough, but AFC will handle all the logistics for it, basically. More details to come, a lot more details to come, but at least we're moving forward as the town wanted us to do, and we're going to submit the application. Hopefully it'll go in next week, and then we'll see how the distribution plan happens. No one really knows what the state distribution plan is.
And will people sign up ahead of time, like how are we? Okay.
All those details still need to get worked out, but the tentative plan right now is to use the current EDS plan where
Okay.
people will have appointments. It'll go probably into the school. There is a little bit of difference between the EDS plan and the flu vaccines where there is some allergic reactions that we have to be conscious of. So there is a waiting period after they get their vaccine. So, all those specific details we need to work out, but everybody feels confident that we can work it out and it'll be, a true partnership with AFC.
Yeah, they actually, even at the hospital, they make us sit for 15 minutes. They have someone timing it and everything, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's all good news. So we will move forward and Nancy, you'll talk to Kim and just let me know like how she wants to do that. I think we'll probably just forward her the link and she'll do the electronic signature once she can read the application where it's at.
Okay, that's fine. Because I do know she will be away. She has a place in Colorado. She's going to go quarantine for a much needed vacation for a little bit. So.
Okay. Well, it's electronic signature, so that
Yep.
shouldn't be a problem where she is.
That's great. Yep.
And
Okay.
who's Dr. Robinson you were talking about in terms of?
She's
doing the application?
the intensivist and that runs the ICU at Marlborough Hospital.
Okay.
Yeah, she's also like the medical director and everything there.
So Heather, that may
All the knowledge.
change.
She
That
works
may
for
change
Mass Lung and Allergy.
Yeah, that may change going forward because we needed a physician sign off for, vaccine when we get
Oh
the
yeah,
vaccine.
Heather could probably do it now.
But with you being an MD, that will be a great asset. You'll be able
Yeah.
to sign off on those. And Kim is in town and she really offered to do that for us, just volunteered
I
to do
see.
that.
Yeah, she says it's her town civic duty.
And that assumes that Heather, you'll keep your license,
Yeah, I think I
medical
will.
license, and all your credentialing requirements.
Yeah, no, I will.
I'm sure you will, but yeah. In good
So-
stand.
Does anybody have any other thoughts, questions, comments? We're approaching 11. I know Dan has a hard stop at 11. I got a hard stop at 11.
The only thing I would interject with is that very shortly, I think we're going to have some discussion about the CARES Act. I know Emily and I have both received information from, I've got a lot of information from Don Sibber, our representative from MHOA, and the Cambridge Health Alliance, Region 4AB, about the new extension that goes the full year now, 2022. But we may be able to get quite a bit of reimbursement for the full-time public health nurse and some of Heather's time, as long as it's all devoted exclusively to COVID or COVID related, how they define it. And they define it in a way. So supposedly it's been modified somewhat. But I think the key is that the board would have to submit through Carla McAuliffe, not invoices, but some sort of documentation that the money was not originally planned for or budgeted. So we don't have the public health nurse budgeted.
Dennis, you had a thought?
Yeah, I mean, it's all, we don't know what the whole package is yet.
Right.
That I don't know. I don't think anybody knows yet. But yeah,
And I, Paul, I've been in communication with Carla McAuliffe and Heather, that is our accountant in town. And we've talked about the possibility of if we are able to fill Emily's position with a full-time public health nurse, half of that position wasn't budgeted. So we may get reimbursement for half. We may be able to get reimbursement for the interim public health director because that was not budgeted also.
Correct.
But there's some question of that because there was a public health director. I don't know, but I just want you to know that I'm working with her and we're going to try to get, the most reimbursement we can get. And you, some of you may need to detail the work that you're doing, anything COVID related. That's what it's based on. So we need to really think about are you doing this because COVID affected you in another way? So it's not a direct COVID thing, but because of COVID, you had to do this. So
I
thinking
see.
about the work that you do, and Carla's going to get back to us and for all of you, like what work you're doing that may be impacted by COVID. So I think if we can get that detail, it really will help offset some of these additional expenses that we have for this year.
Hey, do you guys see Tim Litt? He submitted a question about the budget and Paul's
Consulting.
consulting fees after June 30th.
We still need to work that. Do we have a line in there? So we still
Yeah,
have to work
there
that
is a
out.
line in there under contracts. I think it includes Dennis's contract. And I think that's the amount, but that could be negotiated, I think, possibly. We'll see how, for the next 6 months, we'll see how the 6 hour per week goes.
Right, and if you look at the contract line, as Dennis said, that, inspections, assuming that the needed inspections because of the real estate boom that's going on and the additional, environmental and sanitary inspections being hard to keep up, we added more to that line. So whether it's Paul helping out, another person helping out, or Dennis doing additional hours, we have some room in there to fund that work that needs to get done. So that's
Okay.
why there's an additional line there.
Very good. You thought of everything.
Well, it's been
Well,
painstaking.
Interesting that Tim Litt saw that, because he was right. It's an obscure, it doesn't pop out on the budget to say, there's no names on that budget. It's just a line item. It's hard to tell who's in there, what's it for. But it's a good question.
Thank you, Tim. So, Tim. Yes, Tim, we know.
Keep us honest.
I know. Does anyone have anything else?
Well, Tim reminds me of something we're going to have to talk about. This is technicality stuff, but with Heather coming on board, we're going to have to work out with the computer system, because we don't have our IT person regular. And I know we've been borrowing time from the school's IT person, but I think that needs to be worked out. Emily will still be using her computer, or the towns that we loaned her, but we'll have to make these are things we're going to have to work out. Just mentioning that, if Tim can offer any volunteer assistance, that would be much appreciated. Or do we go I think Barbara says we could go through the school's IT person.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but I've got another meeting starting right at 11
Right.
that I have.
Happy New Year, Dan.
Yeah.
Guys,
Bring the meeting to adjourn, and thank you, Heather. Welcome.
Okay.
Welcome.
Thanks,
Nice to
Heather.
meet you.
Happy New
See
Year.
you. See you in January.
Okay.
I'll
bye.
be in touch, Heather.
All right.
Meeting
Thank you,
adjourned.
guys.
Thank you.
All right. Happy
Bye.
New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Year.